and just stand there and try to set a record for how long you can hold your pee or stand up without your back hurting. It's more of a stunt. They're not necessarily. It's not a requirement that you stand there in the well and maintain the microphone and hold the issue like in the old days of the original filibuster. Now, I think we still do that in the Alabama legislature. I think you got to stand there and speak on the bill. Every now and then your colleagues can bail you out and ask you questions, but that would be a more classic filibuster. It's really a technical argument now until you can achieve 60 votes to overcome the challenge. So, what Thune said he would do is call for a standing filibuster and then use some kind of nuclear option once that had been exercised to waive the filibuster requirements and let the Senate, by a vote of 51, vote the SAVE Act out. In other words, I'm trying to boil this down to more simplicity. Thune basically told the House rebels, okay, go ahead and pass this bill, and I'll give you your shot in the Senate. And then no sooner than it passed this afternoon, Thune has come out this afternoon and said, well, I'm just not sure we have time to do that now. Oh, jujitsu, man. He just he's a snake, man. I'm telling you, we should have never put him in. And it was with support of our own one of our own senators that this guy's in charge. But I'm not bitter. AJ, I'm not bitter. I'm just gonna let it happen. It's the same old Senate, man. I have lowered, I heard years ago, and I can't remember where I heard an older guy say this. Honestly, I think it was Ray Wiley Hubbard, the singer from Texas. Y'all know Ray Wiley Hubbard. Somewhere he said, or somebody in that genre said, "Keep your gratitude above your expectations." And if you get up every day and you can do that, you don't expect much. You almost prepare to be let down, but be grateful for what you got. I'm kind of having to move to that mode nowadays because these people will screw you over and let you down. More importantly, it's the Republicans. The Democrats can't let me down because I have no hope in them. I have no faith in them. I really don't respect them and oppose them. The ones that let me down are the ones that I have no choice but to vote for nowadays in this binary system that we have, and it says damn Republicans. So here they go again with their leaders. It's an inside club, and the people that run the show up there are people that you didn't elect, and they're not going to let any of this stuff happen. They're just not going to do it. I'll be surprised. Now you keep getting this rah rah stuff that the Save Act has momentum, and it has now 50 votes. I heard a guy saying that it's now to 50 votes, and with J.D. Vance's vote, that would give them a tiebreaker, and they could pass it in the Senate. But Thune's in the way, so that's just how it is. All right, so we got that. Then let's go to Nancy Guthrie. Before this week started, we didn't know her name, but now we do, and her little sweet face is all over the news. Mother of Savannah Guthrie. Now, I'm not a big fan of Savannah Guthrie, but my heart breaks for the Guthrie family. There's something about her mom that reminds me of my mom. My mom's also named Nancy. And any of you that we all love our mamas. And at some stage of life, our parents can wind up living alone. And there's a vulnerability there that we always know, but we don't always acknowledge. And we pray for them. And I'm going to be like that too. One day I'm going to want my independence and not go live with my family. And so we all have situations like that where parents want to maintain their independence. And at 84 years old, she's living alone. Her daughter takes her to dinner on a Saturday night, and she didn't show up at church the next morning. And that set off alarm bells, and we can all relate to that. I think about my own grandmother. That woman I don't think she ever missed a Sunday, ever. Um, they did a missing man formation in her traditional seat when she died. The other ladies that were her friends, nobody sat in her seat for years. You could go to that church, they left her seat empty because that's where she had sat for years and years of her life. And so there's a lot of us. I mean, certain stories will connect to you in the weirdest way, and I think it's the circumstances that are so disturbing. Your elderly parent, and I'm saying elderly in a respectful way, is snatched from her home in the middle of the night, according to authorities. Now, they had a new news conference a little while ago, not much at all. It was almost what they didn't say that was interesting about the news conference. By the way, the police chief or sheriff, I can't remember which one he is, but the guy in charge seemed to be a very affable guy who's doing his best. He's kind of overwhelmed with all this national attention. Tucson doesn't always get this kind of attention, but he's thanking the media for all the questions, thanking the public for the interest. They're being inundated with tips, which maybe most of which are probably useless. People are eager to help. Some people are just deceitful and want to mess with the authorities. The only interesting thing was what he didn't say when asked about whether there had been ransom demands for Mrs. Guthrie. And uh, and pardon me for forgetting his name. I was having to listen to this on the way in today. But he said, "Well, we're reviewing all tips and everything that's come in." That he wouldn't say they had not gotten a ransom demand, but he didn't say they had. And what I drew from that was this: based on this guy looking real exasperated as to not knowing where she is. They did say that they believe she was harmed in the house. There's traces of blood in the home, and they don't know where she is. He just said, "I don't know where she is, and we need the public's help. We need video cameras. We need any eyewitness accounts. We need anything that could give us leads." They're going through the things you would expect: the geofencing, tracking cell pings, both probably for her devices or any devices that would fit a pattern. And those things take time. You can't just start doing that. You got to go through with warrants and get permissions and work with the private cell companies to connect those dots and to break into those systems. A lot of cells are encrypted nowadays. That's not automatic data that you can just get on a computer. This is not a movie. If it were a movie, there'd be a computer nerd to go, "I'm checking that right now." He'd type on his computer. You know what I mean, AJ?
Mm-hmm.
And he'd have glasses on. He'd go, "She was last seen on 4th Street yesterday afternoon." That doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, that's the movies.
It's the movies. It's
Yeah.
a dragnet, and
I need a whole scan of everything.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let me go in here.
yeah, tell me everybody she's connected to in the last 3 years. Well, here's a car tag from somebody. No, they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
It takes a minute. The technology's there, but the process is slow, and there's a reason for that. So the rest of us don't get run over unless you were, say, a Trump supporter after J6. You don't just get your data searched that quickly, unless it's the federal government weighing in on you because of your politics. There is a process, a warrant-based process, where companies have to be served before they can even hand this stuff over with privacy restrictions and liability and all that. So that's going to take some time. And so this is only even though it seems like it's been in the news for a week, it's only a 3-day old story. So, but it's a mystery. Her disappearance is a mystery. It's got an emotional attachment to it. All of us. I mean, you think about your mama when you think about that. I mean, you think everybody. You think about your mom.
Yeah, like if my mom don't answer her phone after like the 5th time I call her, I was like, "Look, I'm about to drive. I don't care. I'm gonna say, hey, Leland, I may be late, but I gotta go to
I know.
7-hour drive. I would drive there 7 hours, make sure she good,
And check
drive
on
right
her.
on back.
Yes, you will. I mean, we all love Mama, and Savannah Guthrie and all these other people that are celebrities and in the news, despite whatever they believe and don't believe. We can relate to loving your mama and being heartbroken over something tragic and horrifying happening to your mom. My gut, and I hate to even say these words because everybody does that. People try to speculate, and I don't know if it's speculation or it's just gauging my defenses for whatever's about to come. I feel like this is grave. I just feel like with the heart medication issue, apparently she had some heart medication without which it'd be very fatal, life threatening. I can't imagine a circumstance where somebody targets a woman like this. We can go through scenarios in our mind. Maybe her living alone was a vulnerability. Somebody was taking advantage of that. She surprised them. They might have just conked her on the head and didn't know what to do with her from that point. Some people are speculating that it's targeted because of her daughter's celebrity, and there's just no evidence of that yet, but there may be. And as far as the ransom tips and the sheriff saying, well, we're going through everything, the reason is you'll have crackpots will call in and demand a ransom for some case they're not involved in just to mess with the cops. People do that all the time. Detectives and DAs and people that go through this stuff understand what I'm talking about. But I don't know. There's something about that case that's really captured the imagination of the public this afternoon, and you got to prayers up for this woman's safety if she's still alive. And one of the reporters did ask that question: are we dealing with are we looking for someone who's alive? Was the way I think the question was asked, and that's an interesting way to ask it. It reminded me of a case. I go back in my mind sometimes when I'm not sort of emotionally, personally connecting with some things that are in the news, of stories that I covered that were mysteries for a while that turned out to be a more simple answer than what was suspected. And one particular case came to my mind. There was an infamous school superintendent in Columbus, Georgia, in the Muskogee County school systems when I was a young reporter. His last name was Burns, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his first name right now. But he was wildly controversial because he was doing some stuff in the school system that was being challenged. There were all these heated board hearings, and I remember he had secretly gone out and got another job, and I got wind of it. So I went to interview him about normal board stuff, which I had interviewed him a lot, got to know him a little bit, a nice, affable guy. But I knew about the job, so I hit him with that question, AJ. I was like, "Can you tell me about this job in Oklahoma or wherever it was?" He looked at me like he was going to deny it, but then he couldn't, and so he turned 5 shades of red. AJ, that was one of the last things he did in his life was that interview. I left and went and did my story. I think it was the very next morning, if my memory serves. He was found dead in his home. He lived in a historic district in downtown Columbus, which was no stranger to crime. And I remember the coroner and what the coroner said about how he died. He died of exsanguination, blood loss, shock. Somebody stabbed him in the neck. Who would stab the superintendent in the neck? So the reason it reminds me of the Savannah Guthrie case because he had some celebrity in town. There were all these conspiracy theories, and the cops were chasing angles on his opponents with the board and parents that had it out for him. And they were going down all these trails to figure out who killed. I want to say his first name was Jim, and I hate that I can't remember that right now. I'm just having a moment, but it was tragic and sad. And then the truth came out, and it was something as simple as this basically a crackhead that was roaming downtown. It was an old historic area where there was some crime, like a lot of downtowns. Just got in his house somehow, opened the front door. Maybe the door wasn't locked. Mr. Burns comes down the stairs to surprise the guy. I think maybe he had a flashlight or something. And the guy just pulled a knife out, stabbed him in the neck, and ran off. And he just laid there and bled to death. And it was something that simple. He didn't know his assailant. It was a home burglary. He startled the burglar, lost his life. So the reason I go through that whole explanation is we try to guess at it and try to tie it to something that it couldn't be, but it could be something as simple as somebody broke in her house and caught her by surprise, and that's horrifying in and of itself. It just is. So, any updates on that? We'll have them for you today. Your thoughts too on any of these things? I got a lot of headlines to get to too. We're keeping an eye on this Charlie Kirk hearing. It's going on right now. We may dip into some of that in a minute. 545-9950 is the phone number. Michelson Laser Vision bringing you the show tonight. Dr. Mark and Dr. Jennifer. I love that father-daughter story of theirs. I really do. I think it's neat. Even though I'm glad my sons didn't follow me into the doldrums of broadcasting, I think it's neat when kids do what dad does or do what mom does. And in this case, Jennifer said she always wanted to be like her dad. She wanted to do those surgeries since she was a kid. I was prompted to ask her that because I saw a picture of her in Scrubs with her dad when she was really young. And so she went off and became a fine surgeon herself, following in the legendary practice in the footsteps of her father, who pioneered the laser here in Birmingham. And with all those decades of experience and the latest cutting edge technology, you're just going to get the best care. And that, and again, a 2-generation practice here in Birmingham. They're our neighbors, and they're going to look out for you and do it right. So look into LASIK. If you got glasses or contacts, don't make any more excuses. At least go find out. It doesn't cost much of your time or money to go down and get the initial consult and find out if you're even medically eligible. Then let them educate you and then make your intellectual decision as to whether you want to do it. And if you do, I think you'll be happy. I know I'm thrilled, and I've been that way since the day I got the surgery. Y'all, it's LASIK at michelsonlaservision.com, michelsonlaservision.com. All right, I tell you what we'll do. Let's dip into this hearing for just a minute and get kind of a taste of what's happening in this Charlie Kirk case. Cameras in the courtroom are something that his widow wanted. A lot of people that supported Kirk wanted. You just want all this stuff out in the open, mainly to dispel some of the nutty people that have just like flies landed on this case all over the internet and in other places. Here's some of the arguments going on right now in the courtroom live out in Utah.
Court will manage the question of whether Mr. Robinson needs more time to prepare for the preliminary hearing. So the court got an update on the status of discovery. The court noted Ms. Kirk's filing, which of course we are all aware of, and we understand her rights as the representative of the victim in this case. There are challenges under Utah law when the defense.
By the way, just to kick in, this is one of the defense attorneys for the assassin, and I forget his name already, speaking right now in the court.
Because we're not going to make a public filing of work product. And I'm sure the court understands exactly what I mean. Yes. So what I'm saying is the court brought up the filing and the significance of that for future proceedings. We're going to need to have, if I may, what I would call sort of a case management conference at some point about how the court will manage our need to be able to share with the court the status of our work, which we believe is confidential and privileged, in light of the fact that every time we file something and ask the court to designate it as private, we have counsel for the media trying to unseal it. And we also don't intend to disclose to the state the status of our diligence. And so I'm not asking the court to address it now. I guess I'm just trying to put a post-it note on somebody's list. It's certainly on our list, and we didn't really intend to bring that up at the outset of today's proceeding, but since the court mentioned Ms. Kirk's filing, it just seems like the right time to mention that. So we're prepared to proceed with further testimony from Mr. Gray and keep going with the evidentiary hearing unless the court wants to address.
All right, so a lot of this is perfunctory legal jargon, and we'll keep an ear on it in case there's anything new. You can see how sort of tenuous this whole case is going to be. The whole tedious, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. Okay, bottom of the hour, we got more headlines to throw at you too. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Y'all hang on. It's 2:35, Leland Live. Here we go. Alabama Gold Refinery bringing you the show tonight. AGR, I call him AGR because I'm cool like that. That's Steve's outfit. He's over in Homewood. Man, Steve's a good guy to get to know. If you ever want to be involved in buying, selling, trading, any of these precious metals, particularly gold, has been on such a run. I pulled up the number for this afternoon so far, and today gold's up 6%. It's been on a swing. It's close to 5,000 again. It's had a hell of a run in about the last month. Either way, you know your money's safe because gold always tracks against the stupidity of inflation and all the other dumb things that happen in the world. And they're ready to either sell it to you or buy it from you at fair value or do some swapping. Some people want to take their scrap in. You don't want to give up your gold position, but you'd rather have it in a sort of stamped and measured form, a coin or collectible bullion, something like that. Look, they'll set it up for you at AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. AlabamaGoldRefinery.com in Homewood on 29th, right there across from the Regions Bank. Y'all go see Steve. If you can get his attention, I wonder if he's got to be the tiredest guy in business. When gold got to 54, I can't imagine he could even get up and go to work. It was crazy over there. Alabama Gold Refinery, AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. Okay, here's another TMZ reporting right now in the Nancy Guthrie. We're going to call it a missing persons case. Listen to this. This is TMZ now. They're a little tabloidish, but I'll be honest with you. They'll outscoop the mainstream media, especially on celebrity-oriented stories. And as left-wing as they can be, I follow them because they do break news. And they're reporting now that they have received, I don't know if it came to them or they obtained a copy of it, but they've received a ransom note about Nancy Guthrie, saying that the person that sent it is demanding millions in Bitcoin for her safe return. And so they did the due diligence to go and check, according to their own story. The person that sent the ransom request had a specific Bitcoin address. I don't know much about how this stuff works. I need to call JD or Will or somebody. Those guys are all into it, but so the ransom note had a specific place it wanted the money to be sent or the Bitcoin to be sent. Do you call Bitcoin money, AJ? What do you call it?
Bitcoin.
It's currency.
It's a Bitcoin digital currency.
It's Bitcoin. Should we start like Leland Live Coin?
I mean, you can.
Yeah, let's do it. No, let's not. So anyway, they wanted it sent to a specific address, and TMZ is reporting that they went and checked it out, and the address does exist. It's an actual address, and I don't know what it's connected to. The whole point of a lot of the digital currency and all this cryptocurrency is for it to be anonymous. So I'm going to read you the story verbatim. This is a twist, and it's going to be up to the sheriff to dismiss this or not. Apparently, this has all been turned over to Pima County, the Pima County sheriff, who did his news conference just a short time ago. Remember, I told you in the news conference he wouldn't commit one way or the other over whether they've had any kind of ransom request or whatever. So here's the TMZ story, and as they wrote it, okay? Another scary twist in the disappearance of Today host Savannah Guthrie's kidnapped mother. TMZ has received an alleged ransom note demanding payment for the release of Nancy Guthrie. The note, which was sent to us Tuesday morning, demands a specific, substantial amount of Bitcoin. The amount is in the millions. The note demands the cryptocurrency be sent to a specific Bitcoin address. TMZ has verified the Bitcoin address is real. There is a deadline connected to the alleged ransom and an element of or else. In the moment of our live stream above, the two guys on TMZ did a little live stream about this. Harvey and Charles, that's the two guys, right, said she was wearing an item mentioned in the note. In fact, the note says she was not wearing it. The alleged ransom note also describes another item the sender says was damaged at the Tucson home. This would be an attempt to prove that they really do have her and know stuff that the cops haven't told the public. TMZ says we forwarded the alleged ransom demand to the Pima County Sheriff. Nancy was reported missing Sunday, and her disappearance has been labeled as an abduction, and homicide detectives are on the case. Huh. So they sent it to TMZ. I think it's fake, AJ.
You know,
why would you send this TMZ?
It's just like, they sent the letter to TMZ, not to Savannah, not to the police, not obviously not to the police, but not least to Savannah, but to TMZ. And I'm assuming maybe because they know TMZ will
put it out.
broadcast
Yeah, put that out there.
Yeah, and
Now,
put that information out.
It's not unusual. I think the Zodiac killer out in California sent letters to the media. There have been other crazy psychos over the years that want to communicate through the media and not directly to the authorities. So that does happen. In fact, it brings to mind a little case I was involved in with my own dad, where there was a man holding his whole family hostage inside a home, and the cops had him surrounded, and he had the gun, and he had fired outside at the cops a couple of times. But in the middle of that, he demanded to speak to the media, and I was the only media there, but my dad was there. And I remember I told you the story. Police Chief Kimmer said, "Do you mind going on the air and saying that he'll be allowed to interview if he'll just let his family go?" So I called my boss to make sure we could play in the story. We were part of the story at that point, and he goes, whatever the cops need, if it helps that family. So we go on the air and say, look, if you just let him go, because he was watching the television, we'll talk to you. We'll give you an interview and let you say whatever you got to say. He let him go, like almost immediately. I saw the cops move in. Then they threw his ass in the car and didn't let me interview him.
Oh, yeah. Now, my question is, and maybe this is my brain because watching too much television. Like, I wonder how come they never said what was the motivation. Like, why do they need to send? And especially in Bitcoin, I know you said it's because of the anonymous side of it,
the anonymity of it.
But why this 84-year-old woman, this mom, that, I mean, like, what's the point?
I guess the point is money.
Yeah, I get it.
Let's assume this is true and let's vet it out. Okay, let's just be AJ and Leland, Ace detectives.
Yes. Right?
So, assuming this was legit, you have to just work on that. I guess the motive would be just plain old greed. You've got a celebrity. Maybe they just come across some intel that the celebrity's mama lives, and she's extremely vulnerable, living alone in some neighborhood without a gate. Who would think that somebody's celebrity's parents would be subject to this? So you've got a vulnerable target. You've got the celebrity card, which instantly makes the story nationwide. They may have been smart enough to calculate that this would get a lot of attention. And the woman was an easy target. A lot of these predators will just pick on the easy, the most vulnerable among us. I said that yesterday. They'll go after kids. They'll go after older folks.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, maybe did Savannah run into somebody in her past? Did she diss somebody because they try to get her number? Like, you think about, you got to think outside of the box sometimes.
But they're asking for money.
I mean, there's some crazy folks out there.
And there's a lot of speculation about how close they are to the border and whether this is cartel related. This doesn't seem like a cartel thing.
No.
They don't demand ransom. They just kill people. They just take what they want. They're brute force. They cut heads off down there, steal stuff, blow up houses. They do a lot of retaliatory violence.
And there's no cameras in the house? No doorbell ring cameras, no nothing?
Well, see, that was interesting in the coverage today. Man, we're just gonna talk about this for a minute because we got other stuff we can get to later. Earlier reports there were cameras on the house, and then a reporter today in the news conference said, why were the cameras on the house missing? So the sheriff wouldn't say whether maybe the authorities took those cameras down to inspect them or whether the killer noticed the cameras. There's a presumption that the killer had surveilled the house, knew how to get in, and somehow removed the cameras so they wouldn't be on camera. You know what I mean? Sneak around behind them and dismount them, cut them off from the internet. There's another report that her cameras were installed, but they weren't connected to a cloud. They were just observational cameras. And some of y'all have systems like that in your property. You got to have those things working, and they got to be in some kind of motion record mode, or they're worthless unless you're going to sit there and stare at them. And then you're still going to have to hit record to preserve any evidence if your home is being targeted somehow. So the reporter went on to talk about one of the experts on the panel I was listening to said that you'd be surprised how many people will put those things up, but either not turn them on, not don't know how to use them, don't remember their passwords, can't access them. In other words, you you put up cameras for your mom at her house, keep her safe, makes you feel safe, but she doesn't know how to use it, and then something happens, and the authorities come to you, and you don't know the password. You can't get in them. Everything's encrypted, and so the cameras are then useless.
Yeah, but I know, like for me, the cameras I got around my house, it notifies me
Oh yeah,
when a mouse passes gas, whatever. Like
it's almost too much. Yeah, I get them squirrels. I get lots of squirrels,
right.
lots of critters. Every now and then the dogs go out and trip the cameras off, and I've got them everywhere because of the size of the property to the road. I mean, it does track and those things work, but they're always vulnerabilities on these things. So, man, what a twist! We'll let that play out this afternoon and keep trying to follow this. I believe if this is legit, that the Pima County Sheriff's going to have to put out a statement. He said he wasn't going to talk again until Thursday. I think he's exhausted trying to answer media questions, and in as polite a way as he could. He seemed like just an older he's from that gentleman generation where he was trying to be as kind as he could to these vultures that have descended on this story. But they're not going to let up, and when news breaks, you got to be involved in it. He did say he would respond to any breaking developments, but he didn't have a news conference scheduled in this case till Thursday. If this is true, and this is now a hostage situation because of a ransom, the sheriff's going to either have to confirm or deny this TMZ report forthwith. Been watching a lot of British television. We'll start incorporating their phrases. Okay, Crocker Moving Services. Here you go. Eric Crocker and that whole team ready to help you get moved. If you got a big move planned this year, a lot of folks do a lot of house buying and life changing in the spring. Sometimes it's even your kids going off to college. You got to get them moved. Then you're going to redo their room. Lots of reasons. Get Crocker to do it for you. You will not regret it. They're just good. They're good. They're good at what they do, fair in their pricing, their ability to scale their services to, days and days if you need them, or 2 hours minimum if you need them. I've only used them for these 2-hour projects, and sometimes it was just one big thing. Sometimes it was just a bunch of big things. But I will tell you this, every time they have estimated how long it was going to take them based on the volume and the distance, they were right on the money. So I didn't get any surprises, and they just work so hard, and they send the best folks over. They took their TV commercial that AJ and I did for them and turned it into an animated cartoon. Did you look at that last night?
I did.
They
They gave me a
made
nice little beard. I appreciate that.
AJ and I was having our first little animated cartoon commercial of me and AJ. They took my beard off, and I looked 20 years younger. And that's the first thing my wife said. She goes, "You look 20 years younger." I was like, "What are you trying to say?" It didn't, but it sort of looked like you, AJ, but that dude had a huge beard.
Yeah, he did.
But it was your voice and my voice, but it was it's the couch moving episode. They turned it into a cartoon. That's pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, y'all go see them and get them to come out to your house and have Eric and Leonard and that whole team take care of you. They're good folks. It's CrockerMovingServices.com, CrockerMovingServices.com. Back in a minute. It's 2:52, Leland Live, Tuck 995. Here we go again, heading toward 3 o'clock, rain moving in. This development in the Nancy Guthrie case is just fascinating. I'm watching some of the reaction come into it now. By the way, Alabama Dental Associates bringing you the show tonight. If you need a dentist, maybe you have a dentist, but you need a little more flexibility. You like a larger range of services or one of these other things. Maybe it's just time for a change. Y'all consider Alabama Dental. This is a thorough, for dentists, comprehensive practice with all the latest technology to help diagnose and treat you. And then, of course, 4 wonderful dentists with different specialties. And my favorite part is that they stagger their hours so that they can keep the doors open late, take appointments as late as 7 o'clock in the afternoon, and then on Saturdays. That's just really, really convenient when you have to do these necessary things like get your teeth checked a couple times a year. It's good to have that kind of convenience. It's alabamadental.com. Y'all go see Dr. Brian and the whole team over there in Irondale at alabamadental.com. Okay, back to this Guthrie case. I've not been able to listen to this audio. AJ, I sent you a link. These are the 2 guys, and I don't watch TMZ, and I've seen their heads pop up, and they do commentary, but this is them in real time as discussing this alleged ransom note, and other outlets are jumping on it now because apparently the thing that's kind of the clincher here is that they're claiming the ransomer, is that, I have the wrong terminology. The person who sent the note has information that the public doesn't know and the cops haven't released about her situation, what she had on, things from the house. Let's take a listen to this.
So we got something in our email that looks like it's written like a ransom note for Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Specific
And they're
requests
very
for certain amounts of money,
very specific.
Bitcoin.
And also they say at the bottom, there are certain things they're saying about what she was wearing and damage to the house.
That
as
they're
if
clearly saying to verify that
it's us.
we know what we're talking about here.
So we've contacted the Sheriff's Department, and we want to get them this letter. We had a little trouble getting through to the right person, but the person we spoke with is now forwarding this to somebody in the Detective Bureau. So if my phone rings, I may have to stop and...
What's interesting is, there was just a news conference that just ended with the sheriff, and he was asked about, and we're going to do this segment in a few minutes, but he was asked about a ransom note, and he just said, we're following all leads.
Yeah, and this again, we don't know.
We don't know if this is legit, right.
if it's authentic or not. But when you read it, they're acting as if, yeah, only we would know these things,
right.
And we're serious. And there's a dollar demand and an or else in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we will let you know as this thing kind of develops.
It's a strange situation for them to be in because you either, I mean, they're in the business of drawing eyes to the screen, and that's certainly going to get some attention. But I don't think they would have done this gratuitously, or maybe they would have. Do you even report this, AJ?
Mm-hmm.
Or go ahead, say what you were going to say.
Well, I used to be one of those guys. I was like, oh man, it's TMZ. It's tabloids. But they've done some really good journalism, especially when it comes in the realm of entertainment news. They are one of the sources I do run to, especially let's say a celebrity has passed or something's going on with and they somehow get all this information. And I'm tend to believe this because I know Harvey. He did People's Court back in the day. He was a guy that used to stand out in the crowd.
Was that where he came from?
Yeah, and he used to be like, "Oh, so
no, is that Wapner?
Yes. And he was standing out in the crowd like, "Oh, so what do you think about this person?" And
that was Harvey.
That was Harvey. The guy.
His name is.
Yeah, he started TMZ.
No idea.
And now that this is starting to become like a reputable type of source of information, so I'm tending to believe. At first I was like, this is TMZ, but man, I know them that they won't just put something out just to put it out. Like they will try to verify it.
I mean, they're tabloid-ish for their format, no doubt.
Right.
They're not the National Enquirer and doing story on
right.
alien babies and all that stuff and Bigfoot. Princess Diana. When I was growing up, that's all they did. That's all they did was Bigfoot and Princess Diana.
Right.
But every now and then they do scoop the heck out of people and get somehow they get access to video and information faster than some of the other outlets,
mm-hmm.
Particularly when it's a celebrity-oriented case or even they've had political scoops where they've scooped the big networks on stuff in the past too. Even if the story was broken and people were waiting on developments. So I don't know what to make of it. I can't say I'm going to buy it yet. It could be just somebody jerking their chain because they were in a real environment. You could hear how that was just coming in. They were just getting it. And how do they do that? Do they have an appointed showtime on that show, or do they just pop up when they have something?
Well, now with social media, they do a lot of streaming on like TikTok and stuff like that. So they're pretty much 24/7, not 24/7, but they're more frequent on social media. But they do have like their show
No,
that
what I'm
comes
saying
on
is,
TV. But
is it on this time of day, or did they just jump on because they had?
they
This
just
note?
they what I'm saying is like since with social media, they just kind of they do a lot of stuff on social media. So it's not really like a timed thing. So they were already on social media when they were doing this, and then when they got this information, they just kind of popped on and talked and you know brought up that information. So
Well, that's going to create a stir this afternoon. We're just kind of loosely, I say loosely following it. I've almost talked about that story alone here for the first hour. But if anything develops on it, y'all know how we chase down the breaking news. We'll have that for you. So still motions and things going on in the Congress this afternoon. We'll let you know the status on the shutdown bill and the SAVE Act. All that stuff is kind of heating up. Down in Alabama, I understand that they're having trouble in the State House today because they had some huge power hit overnight that screwed up the voting machines. They actually vote on they have these little buttons at their desk, and they'll push the button, and it's like an instant tabulator thing. And somehow that is jacked up. And so whatever, they're down there passing a bunch of tough on crime bills. It's an election year. And I'm glad they're doing it. One of them is to make it a felony if you run from the popo. One is if you barge into a church and do a Don Lemon on them, that's a state felony in the state of Alabama, which I'm almost certain too. I read when all that first happened. It's also a felony in Minnesota. It's just you have people in charge now that don't prosecute anymore if their side's in trouble. All right, top of the hour, we'll do that. Keep an eye on all these headlines. We'll start going to the phones too. We'll get some of your phone calls in here as well. 545-9950, lead on live, talking at M5 back here in just a minute.